welcome to another edition of the Watchful Penguin Preview. I'm Dustin Southworth. He's Tyson Abronic.
Hi. Got a full day of baseball action for all you baseball fans as the postseason continues to be in full swing, and the Star Wars beta comes out in video games, which I believe that's where we'll lead things off. That'll be our top story.
Absolutely, yeah. So last week the Star Wars Battlefront beta came out.
I was stoked.
On all platforms, and they had a couple modes that you could play to test it out. And actually, they ended up extending it until tomorrow.
Till tomorrow to geek out on Star Wars for a little bit.
Yes.
Nothing like a good beta to get the nerds out, and certainly if you played online, this is going to be probably the top selling game of the year, without a doubt.
Most likely, yeah. Everybody's excited about Star Wars, and with the movie coming out and the game coming out, I mean, everybody's all about that Star Wars.
Stoked. Your favorite part about the Star Wars beta?
Well, see, and I know we're gonna differ here, but I actually like that the regular deathmatch kind of mode. It's kind of a capture the flag, kind of capture and defend the flag kind of mode. You go after these escape pods, and you have the rebels versus the Empire fighting and over this pod, and you go back and forth and try to take it over. You have to capture it for a certain amount of time, and then it goes on, and you go up to 5 captures and you win.
We do differ, and we differ because the one that I liked was, of course, the one where you had the AT-ATs and they were
big
pushing their way through, right?
Yeah.
Only because that showed the PlayStation universe how wide open this is going to be with their multiplayer mode.
Sure.
You're going over 4 different stages, and
it is a large map.
It's a huge map, and so that was cool.
And there's a lot of stuff going on. There's stuff flying in, and the AT-ATs walking along, and everything. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, you get the X-wings, the TIE fighters, and they have, of course, the power-ups to control the X-wings. It's just sweet. That was probably my favorite mode of the Star Wars beta. But just me. I'm looking forward to the campaign mode, too. I want to see what this is going to bring out when it comes out in a month. And there wasn't a lot in the beta about the campaign mode, which I thought was good. But it was good to just get the controls down, and good to get everything going on that. So
sure, absolutely.
Beta, by the way, not a demo.
No, there is.
Explain your difference here.
So a beta is to test the network capabilities, the bugs, and everything like that. It's more of a test of their infrastructure rather than a demo, which is just, hey, this is basically what it's going to be. We're not testing anything. We're just letting you play it.
I thought
that's the biggest difference.
If there was bugs, I'll say this. The con is you're shooting a laser at somebody. You shouldn't have to hit them 14 times with the laser before they die.
I saw a funny GIF that said, the game being true to the movies, and the stormtrooper couldn't hit anything. He was just going back and forth.
Yeah,
it was pretty funny.
Basically,
yeah. It is pretty true to the movies in that regard.
Star Wars beta came out this week, and if you haven't downloaded it yet, you still have until tomorrow to geek out and play Star Wars. So
absolutely, there are a lot of people playing it right now within the beta.
Definitely the top story in the video games. Interestingly enough, let's there's a date that's coming up here that has a lot of people, speaking of nerds, back to excited, and that's Back to the Future.
Yeah.
With their prediction, of course, over the Chicago Cubs World Series, that the fact that might come true. They're cashing in on this 30th anniversary here.
Oh, they really are.
And there's a video game out for that too.
Yeah, this is actually a re-release of a Telltale game. It's kind of a choose your own adventure type game. You kind of go through the Back to the Future world, and there are different events that happen in this game. This is actually a re-release for the anniversary itself. This isn't a brand new game. It's been out for a couple of years, but they're going to be re-releasing it so everybody can get their hands on it, and it's a special 30th anniversary edition of the game.
How do you beat Back to the Future? Like, how does it work? I don't know that
it's so much beat. It's kind of just, I think it pretty much just follows along with the movie, and you get to interact with the environment. Like, I played the first level of it, and you were in Doc's garage, and there was the guitar, and you could stand in front of the big amp and hit the chord and go crazy with that. So it's kind of, with this game, it was more of a interactive story or interactive movie, basically. You're just kind of going along in that world more so than choose your own adventure or doing different things in that world.
Well, what other video games have you excited this week?
Along the same vein, from the same company, Minecraft Story Mode is coming out, and that's also a Telltale game, not made by Mojang, who is the original Minecraft creator, but this is apparently a story where some kids are going to enter a con for Minecraft, and hijinks ensue, and they go on an adventure in the Minecraft style. And so that was the big question on everybody's mind. How are they going to do a story in Minecraft? Because Minecraft is basically you dig and you build. That's really all it is. So
Right.
Trying to figure out how the story was going, and I finally figured that out hearing that. Also, the Talos Principle is a pretty interesting indie game that I saw a couple years ago at E3 from Sony, on the Sony presser, and it looked really interesting. I would definitely want to be checking it out. I haven't seen a whole lot on the story or anything on that one. I just heard about this one, the 3/4 Home, which I was assuming was 3/4 of Gone Home, the game that came out last year and
Right.
won a bunch of prizes for just being a kind of, you go through a house and find out the story. But this is a completely different story. It is actually set in Nebraska. They're on a road trip or something like that, and it's a conversation between the parents and the kid, and what might ensue in that realm. Wasteland 2 is coming out, and that's basically the precursor to Fallout was Wasteland 1, and this is a Kickstarted game. It was one of the earlier Kickstarter games, and it's finally coming out, so people will be able to check that out pretty soon. Broforce looks pretty interesting, coming out on the 15th. That's kind of an old arcade style looking game. Looked pretty interesting. It was a dude beating up a bunch of random stuff. And finally, Yoshi's Woolly World coming out for the Wii U. It's basically taking the Kirby's Woolly World, I think, is what it was, and applying Yoshi for another Nintendo game.
Yoshi's still around in video games.
He is.
Alright.
Definitely is.
Good stuff.
All the Mario characters.
Let's move on to the television screen here, and we've got a couple ones that are coming out with their series premiere for the second season. We got Manhattan and Kingdom.
Yeah.
Explain these shows.
Manhattan is basically, I don't know if you know the Manhattan Project, the atom bomb.
Right.
It's kind of.
So we're not talking about the drink here.
No, definitely not. It's just basically setting up the creation and detonation of the atomic bomb and leading up to that. And Kingdom, I forgot to look up, and so I'm not 100% sure on what that show is.
Manhattan
And
Tuesday.
I was excited about it, but then now I forgot.
Manhattan Tuesday, Kingdom on Wednesday.
Yes.
And I'm going to throw one at you as sort of a little bit too far ahead, but not too far ahead. Coming out on the 27th, I believe, of October on ABC. And it's been a long time since I've actually been excited for a network TV show.
Okay.
Just because of the way Netflix has came out, with the way they can just make their dramas, frankly, better with the more racy content. But anyways, this one's going to be good for those who are into crime dramas. I saw the trailer of it during the Husker football game. That disappointment.
Weird.
Wicked City. It takes place on the Sunset Strip,
Oh, yeah.
and that's coming out on the 27th. So I might give that a try for this season.
Sure.
That takes care of television. Wicked
Yes.
City looks good.
Yeah.
Crime drama on the Sunset Strip.
Absolutely.
Set back in the 80s.
Sure.
Movies.
You mean the decade you wish you were from?
Yep.
You grew up in.
I spent 5 years there, so we're good.
Yeah.
Movies.
Mhm.
Speaking of nerds, I read the Goosebumps books, most of them.
As most people did from our generation.
Now they're putting those books onto the big screen.
It looks like it's all of the books in one movie.
Yeah.
Basically, like the way they advertise it is. Remember all the monsters from the Goosebumps book?
Mhm.
They're here.
And it looks good. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
it looks pretty good.
Yep.
Is it worth it, the $25 theater experience in your mind?
I'll be honest. I never read the Goosebumps book, so I'm not that excited about it.
We're done.
I was
We're done
a boxcar kids kind of guy. That was where I was at.
You know what my favorite part about the Goosebumps series was the
What's that?
ones that you got to choose your own ending.
Oh, sure.
So if you flipped to page 5 and you made the wrong choice, and your story was over because you died, that would be my book report. That would be it.
That doesn't surprise me.
It's like I ate the apple and I died. Sorry.
Yeah.
Another one that looks really good, Bridge of Spies, coming out.
Yep, that's a Tom Hanks movie where he plays in.
Cold War, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Cold War setting.
Yeah, they take one of a spy from our side, and we have a spy from their side, and Tom Hanks is brought in as a insurance lawyer to negotiate the return of on both sides. So
and it
should be pretty interesting.
Should be pretty good. Steven Spielberg producing this movie, so that's coming out this week, I believe.
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah, Friday. Thank you.
Yes, and also Crimson Peak coming out this week. This is the big scary movie for the week, I guess. Something about a house.
It is October.
Yeah, exactly. It's the time of year. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, there's a lot of scary movies coming out around now, and I'm like, oh yeah, because it's October.
And it is the season.
They're getting ready for Halloween and everything.
Right. So those are the ones that are hitting on the big screen.
Yes.
Are we moving on to the sports?
Sure.
Okay, baseball. Let's just talk baseball for a moment because today is going to be a great day for baseball fans as all 4 division series matchups are in action. You start off this afternoon with Houston versus Kansas City and the Houston Astros with the 1-game lead on the Kansas City Royals. This after
a kind of surprise.
Houston started off very hot in the American League West, and I think everybody was thinking, including myself, how long is this going to last? Where is this drop off? Because they are really went from bottom to the top in a year.
Sure.
And so, but they're taking on a Royals team that, let's be honest, was 14 games above anybody else in the American League Central, and now they're struggling to maybe get over that rust a little bit. The Royals last year, when they made their great run through the playoffs, had been playing playoff baseball essentially since September 1st.
Sure.
Like every game was important for them just to get into the playoffs, let alone advance through the playoffs. So they were playing a playoff caliber baseball, and I think that's where you see Houston and, to be honest, Texas with the 2-1 lead too. They were battling it out with the Los Angeles Angels for that second playoff spot in the American League West. That really came down to the final game of the regular season, and now you have Houston and Texas, who have been playing competitive baseball for a good majority of the month of September, are now have respective leads over who everybody thought was the favorites to go to the American League Championship Series, and that was the Blue Jays and the Royals. So you'd have a potential 2-1 lead with Houston and Kansas City. Kansas City's got Ventura throwing today. McCullers is throwing for Houston. He's only 6-7 on the year. Then you go over to the late afternoon game. That's Toronto and Texas. You've got R.A. Dickey for the Toronto Blue Jays. Derek Holland for the Rangers. He's 4-3 on the season. Kind of had a rocky start with some injuries and threw out in the bullpen at some times, but he's an experienced pitcher in the playoffs. If Houston and Texas both win today, they advance to the ALCS. It'll be AL West ALCS. You have a similar situation in the National League where the Cardinals and Cubs are playing, both teams out of the National League Central. Cardinals, Cubs, and Pirates, the 3 teams from the National League Central, had the 3 best records in all of baseball to make the playoffs, and they were all from the same division. And then let
That's
alone
crazy.
you got this matchup here, which could essentially be for the NLCS being taken on in the NLDS, and a great pitching matchup in store. This has been an exciting series because if anybody knows anything about Cubs baseball, uh, they have loads of fans, and they've been waiting to get into the playoffs really for the past decade, since the late '90s.
You mean since the World Series started?
Since yeah, and then since the Steve
A long
Bartman era.
time
I mean,
ago.
since the Steve Bartman era, I think I was a junior in high school when that happened. So, I mean, we're talking 11, 10 years ago. They're back into the playoffs, and then they get their rival, the St. Louis Cardinals. Um, me as a
It's pretty
Cardinals
crazy.
fan, I like to see it.
Clearly.
You know, love to see this matchup in the playoffs. A lot of people were like, well, we need to cheer for the Pirates because, death to anything Cubs. And I'm like, this makes this really exciting because,
Yeah.
you know, from the fan standpoint, when you have that rivalry aspect, of course you like your team to win in the playoffs.
Sure.
But when you're throwing in that you're playing your rival too, like it just amplifies it. So you got St. Louis,
Absolutely.
Chicago. They're tied up at one game apiece, and then again the pitching matchup that I spoke of earlier. Michael Wacha for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's been fantastic this season, but he's going up against somebody who's been even more fantastic, and that's Jake Arrieta.
Sure.
22-6 on the season. And of course, if anybody watched that Pirates Cubs game, he was untouchable in that wild card playoff matchup. So it'll be interesting to see if the Cardinals can get their bats going. That takes place at 6 o'clock tonight on TBS. And then you got the Dodgers and the Mets. The Dodgers and the Mets tied up at one game apiece as well. For the Dodgers, we're going to be throwing Anderson, and then you got Harvey for the Mets, and it's at Shea Stadium, and that's the late game. That'll be on TBS. So just to clarify, this afternoon's game going to be on Fox Sports 1. The late afternoon game, the 4 o'clock start, also on Fox Sports 1 and SNET if you're a Canadian viewer. And then you got TBS for the two evening games for the National League portion to set you up. So you got the two National League series, one game apiece, American League 2-1 could be clinched tonight.
Interesting.
And that's sports.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, we can go back to music real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Beach House coming out with a new album. Thank You, Lucky Stars. They're kind of a chill wave type band. They kind of have kind of airy sounds. I really like it. It's good to listen to.
Okay.
Also, Deer Hunter, the indie band, Fading Frontiers, their new album coming out on the 9th.
Deer Hunter.
Yes.
And
9th.
Beach House.
It's the wrong date.
Mm-hmm.
I did not update that.
So you got Beach House and Deer Hunter coming out with new albums.
Yeah.
Moving on to the tech, we got the big summit from Cisco this
Yep.
week. What's the expectation here?
Well, it's not really an announcement or anything. It's just a big. They're getting all the tech industry people around, and they're going to be talking about all the different troubles and what we need to work on in the tech industry. Cisco being one of the biggest networking companies, so I mean, or network companies, and so they're a big player in that game. So they're going to be getting everybody around to have a little discussion. So that'll be interesting to see what comes out of that, or what they talk about on that summit.
And then at the weekend, we got Wired 2015.
Yep, Wired Magazine is having their annual meeting or meetup, and they're just going to be talking to a whole bunch of people that they would normally have talking in their magazine, but it's going to be the live event. It's the way they advertised is Wired come to life.
We've got the official coffee mugs. So at this point, we pretty much are official.
Yeah.
At this point, we pretty much need to get press passes to go to some of these events.
I would love to do that. That would be awesome.
All right.
Some of these.
We'll work on that next week. For now, this has been Tyson Nevronic. That's Dustin Southworth. Of course, could not leave the show without showing you all of our wonderful places where you can follow along.
Absolutely.
You can be on Twitter if you want to follow the conversation, be a part of the conversation. That's hashtag Penguin Preview.
Yes.
And of course, we've got Facebook.com. Just look for the Watchful Penguin.
Yep.
All one word, no spaces.
Nope,
Then you got
no
Twitter.
spaces.
That's just at Watchful Penguin. Of course, we're on the Google Plus, the Watchful Penguin, and then emailing us to news@thewatchfulpenguin.com. See, we even have our own email website.
We do.
We are completely official. News@thewatchful Penguin. So, with that, thank you very much for joining us here on the Watchful Penguin Preview. For Dustin Southworth, I'm Tyson Nevronic. It's now a little past 8 a.m.